Today on Woodturning, our project is in this bucket.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools. Today's project's gonna be a little bit different. A nice guy sent me some wonderful madrone a couple years ago. I can't remember his name, I can't find the email, so I'm sorry, but anyway, I put it in a bucket, kept it wet, and then my memory kicked in and I completely forgot about it. This has been in this thing for over 2 years. So today, it's frozen in here. We're gonna see if we can make something out of this. Before I take it inside, it looks like I need to scrape off about 2 years of sludge. Oh, that's gross. I don't know if I want to see that on the lathe or not. It's going to be right on me, or better yet, it'll be right on Brian. That is one warped piece of wood and frozen solid. So I think I'm going to try to make a bowl out of this best I can. We're probably going to have to cut some of this wood off so we don't waste it. Now, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors, Robust Lathes and Easy Wood Tools. Without their support, we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be able to make these videos. I love their products and I use them because they work. Now, let me tell you, if there's such a thing as smell-o-vision, Brian and I would love to share this with you. This thing reeks. It's terrible. I'm just going to roughly put a center in here on this square here. Since this thing is so warped, I'm going to use a 4-prong drive there, bang the crap out of it, and then I'm going to take this and hold it up into here, move this over real quick, slide this in, and well, if I had a live center, that'd be very helpful. Got it. Still flexible at my age. Okay, so I'm going to kind of like roughly hit the center here. Why am I saying roughly? Because this thing is so warped, I don't know what's in balance or what's right. Whew, that looks interesting. So you see how it's slanting this way? That's not such a bad thing because I want to keep it as wide as possible this way. So if I lose a little off the top and the bottom, it's not bad. And I don't know if you can see it. See that? We have some big old cracks right here. So I want to lose those cracks. So this will be the bottom of the bowl, but ooh, that gives you an idea what this burl looks like inside. This is incredible stuff. Man, Mr. Anonymous Donor, thank you very much. So get ready for the crazy train. I mean, these edges coming around are from all different directions, it looks like. So really, I just want to take the smallest profile gouge I have and just nibble away at it. We're going to turn the lathe down really low. I'm going to wear a face shield and we'll see how this goes. It's pretty slow. We can bring that up a little bit. Pretty soon the lathe's going to wobble just a bit. And see, I'm standing off to the side in case anything goes wrong, it goes that way. So, okay, we'll just start this little bit of nibbling, a little bit at a time. Yeah, getting closer. Okay, we're getting rounder. That's awesome. It's looking good. With a little bit more chiseling away at this thing and we'll be ready to start making a shape out of this thing. And yes, it still stinks. And now it's even wetter because it's starting to melt. So I'm going to grab my CI1 Easy Wood square scraper here because you can see how crooked this thing is. Well, I need to flatten that bottom, and to reach that far out with any tool would be dangerous. This thing has a maximum overhang of here. That's going to help me out. So I want to take the carbide and go in here like that and make that flat. So turn this on. We've turned the speed up a little bit because we're a little more in round. And I'm going to just take maybe about 1/8 of an inch cut as I feed this forward. The tool is level and flat. And right now I'm cutting the shadow line because you really can't see solid wood at this point. I'm going to go down just a little bit like so, come back, move over another 1/8 of an inch. You don't want to use the whole cutter because it'll grab too hard. And I've been trying to avoid the shavings hitting me because they're soaking wet, but in this case, I'm going to wear it with pride. So I'm going to worry down this end and get it flat. Then I'm going to work on the top end and get it flat. And then we're going to work on either a tenon or a recess on the end of this to hold it on the lathe for cutting the inside. Oh yeah, we'll also do a little bit of shaping to make the bowl. So we have a rough tenon right now. I'm not going to finish that out yet, but you can see we've got some cracks here. Over here it looks good. This is nice and solid, but these cracks worry me. So this is why I actually made this the bottom, so I can get rid of them. So I want to start shaping and turning away the cracks. If there's some in there, it's okay. Madrone is known for being very, very forgiving as far as shrinkage and warping and cracking. Generally, if it's going to do anything, it did what it did with that whole block. It went crooked. It didn't crack much. So that's why it's fun to turn. So I'm just going to start taking an angle. I'm just going to make straight cuts across. I'm not going to make a shape yet. I'm going to make just a straight 45-degree cut. And then I'll start making my curve. Right now I'm just moving the wood out of the way that I don't need. And I'm trying to throw it on Brian as best I can. This gives me a rough idea how my shape's going to come in. And let me stop this real quick, and I just want to look and see how that crackage is going. Ah, the crackage is gone. So cool, we're doing good. So now we're just going to start curving and making a nice fat little shape here. Whoa, that really gunks up the tool, doesn't it? I think I can turn the speed up now too. Yeah, oh, I'm feeling the shower. It's wonderful. Should have kept the face mask on. I better quit talking now because it really tastes just as bad as it smells. So I sanded the bowl and turned it around. One thing about the sanding is this is wet wood. It's been in a bucket forever and it's thawing out as we go, so I'm not making any headway, so I gave up. I'm just doing 80 grit, but you can see it looks pretty good. You can see all the burl in there. This is gonna be really a cool bowl. So what I wanna do now is just start hollowing it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a gouge and turn this on and bring my speed up a little bit. That's about it right there. Got a little wobble in the shop. And so we're just going to fish in here, get rid of this little plug that was left from where the drive center was. And when you're working on the inside of a bowl, remember to take your time on the cut because the feet per second is slower than on the outside. So basically, the wood is coming by the tool slower here than it is out here. Same RPM, but it's the amount of wood going by that is different. So I have to go slow here and just let the tool feed. If I try to rush it, I'll either get a catch or it'll start ripping wood out. But the technique I like to do is I want to have a core going like this in the center. One of the tendencies with a tool is as you come out here, it'll want to skate and go across the wood. So what I'm going to do now is push in, go about as deep as I did here, leave that ridge, come back, do the same. This is so fun because being wet wood, even if it's thawing out, it cuts so beautifully. But now when I come back to go deeper, I have a place to sit the tool and it's not going to jump on me. It's going to stay in that groove. I have yet to decide how thin we're going to make this, but I think maybe we're going to make this about 1/4 of an inch wall. So I'm just going to come down here and clean that edge up right there. I love the shavings from green wood. And green frozen wood might be my favorite. So I'm going to keep working my way down in here and refining the interior shape of the bowl. So as I go in, I'm using calipers to measure the width or thickness of my bowl. So I just want to make sure it's consistent as I go in. I'm doing good right now. The other thing, if you have a regular tool rest up here and you're reaching out with your tool, it wants to be pulled down because of all the force of that piece of wood. Well, Robust makes some really cool tool rests. This one's called a little J-hook here. Well, it's called J-hook. I don't know if it's little. But the idea about it is, see, it lets me have support all the way in here up to the wood. I just have to not touch the wood with my fingers, which would hurt. Whoops, let me raise it up just a little bit. There we go. So now I'm barely hanging the tool out over the wood and I can make my cut and it's well supported. It makes doing a deep, high-walled bowl like this a whole lot easier and a whole lot safer. So I've gotten almost all the way to the bottom where I want it to be, but it's a little bit messed up. When you're using a gouge like this, it leaves marks unless you're really good, which I'm not really good. So I'm going to be using this tool right here. It has a negative rake on it, which is really, really cool. Easywood came up with this design a while back, and I love it. So I can actually come back to this lip and start smoothing out the lip without having any worries about blowing the bowl up. The negative rake makes it a very light cut. And then I'll just keep pushing in and follow my curve. The other good thing is when you get to this transition at the bottom, where you go from the side and go in this way, the bowl gouge is really rough to control it to make this curve. This being a round cutter follows the curve and smooths it out beautifully. I want to leave the best tool finish on the inside as I can because, like I said earlier, I'm having trouble sanding because of the moisture content. And when I go back later to sand this, I might have to do it by hand. And I don't want to do all that work, or I want to do as little work as possible at that time. So there we go. So now I've got the inside finished. We got to take off that tenon on the bottom. So what I've done is once I got the inside turned, I turn this around. My jaws are still on here, and I put a piece of chamois folded up a couple times on the jaws, pushed the bowl on, and I centered it up again with a live center right there, so it's spinning pretty nicely. What I want to do is turn this on and come in here and just start whittling away at the tenon and take it off. I'm not going to take it all the way off or it'll fly off the lathe, but I'll just nip that little end off on the bandsaw. So there's a couple more cuts. Hey, we're going to be done. So we've gone from this frozen, weirdly shaped piece of wood to this. That's not too bad. Now, this thing is still drying out. Look how dark that is. So I'm going to try an experiment. This whole thing's an experiment. We've been turning ice cubes, right? So I'm going to get really sloppy here with my mineral oil, and we're going to try to put a finish on here. And this is not going to be a finish that's the finish. This is a protective finish, but look at that burl coming out there. It leaves me speechless and without words. That is pretty cool. Now I'm going to have to hand sand this later probably, I'm thinking, and I might have to use a vacuum chuck to hold it on the lathe when I do that. That'll be an interesting project. But by putting this oil on here, what I'm hoping to do is slow down the drying of the wood. Even though this is a wood that doesn't want to crack much, this had a few cracks in it already, so I don't want to push my luck. Dump a little more in there like so. So started off messy, might as well end messy too. Well, anyway, that is how, with bad memory and everything else, you wind up with a wonderful piece of wood and you turn a frozen wood bowl. Pretty much an interesting project, I think. One I would love to do again. Not. Until the next time on Woodturning, keep turning.
Tim's American Beauty was made by Robust Tools, America's premier lathe manufacturer. Quality hardened tool rests and live centers too. Robust. Built to turn wood. Enjoyed for a lifetime.
Easy Wood Tools, best in class carbide wood turning tools.